So I think we can jump right in if you're ready, Nick.
Let's do it.
Yeah, awesome. So everyone, please join me in a warm welcome to Nick Candido. Nick, you are an award-winning producer. You've worked on everything from films to commercials to music videos, and you're covering topics such as addiction, true crime, and civil demonstrations like the hashtag #MeToo movement and the hashtag #ThisIsNow. And you just got back from a cross-country road trip producing a commercial for Kia. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Of course. Back in November of last year, I had a fantastic opportunity with a production company called RDM to produce this series of commercials for Kia. And this was one of the few times that I've been asked to do a gig that actually had some permanence, like a true goal. We were delivering the Times Square ball drop numbers, which are manufactured in LA every year and are driven across the country to New York City in a Kia. I was hired to produce a series of commercials following them around. So I was shackled up in an RV with a film crew and a camera, and we just followed it all over the nation over the course of 22 days. We were pulling 14-hour days, and I think we had one day off. That was fun in DC. But that journey was one of the most incredible gigs I've ever worked on.
Oh my gosh, that sounds incredible. So how did you seek out this project, or did companies find you? Can you tell us a little bit more about that process?
Of course. So I have found myself in a very unique position in the film industry, which is really solid, where I'm at a point where I don't really hunt for work anymore. People approach me about all my upcoming gigs, and I get to pick and choose. Now, it wasn't always like that. Not even 7 years ago, I was driving trucks around and picking up deliveries for film sets, and now I'm producing them. So it feels really good to be in this position where I've really made a solid impact on my coworkers to the point where they keep passing my name around. As crazy as it is working freelance, it's all about word of mouth and all about making the right impression.
Yeah, absolutely. All about that networking, right? So you also have your own production company, correct? Nick Candido or Candido Productions. Can you tell us
That's
a little bit
correct.
how you started that?
Of course. So perhaps I was a little too hopeful in January 2020 when I launched my personal company. But launching Candido Productions was something I had always wanted to do. Very early on in the industry, I was like, I can do this. I can produce these things, and I can do it all myself. Perhaps it was an ambitious vision. But in January 2020, I launched a new website, new business cards, and I went to Sundance. It was a very hopeful time in my life. And it was very fun launching it all, starting an LLC, navigating these new ventures was definitely, a learning process. Everything required a lot of Googling, a lot of consult from my parents and other contacts I had in the industry that had done very similar things with their own labels. I'm very fortunate to have a network of filmmakers that does genuinely want to help me out.
Oh, that's awesome. And how did you find such a network? Was it kind of through Flowbell? Was it a lot of just networking on your own? Was it virtual?
So I have come into this network of New York local filmmakers very organically, and it's come from multiple different avenues. So let me address each of those items. Flowbell has been a dream. Working with Dan Schneider, working with Flowbell, and attending the First Mondays has been really part of the consistent effort to meet new people in the industry and make those kind of connections. Very early on, when we were doing First Mondays in person very frequently, it was nice to meet people that have made it and meet people that have moved out of the industry and just hear their story. How did they get started? Something I find very fascinating about the industry is that there is no concrete way to get into this. There's no answer. I was desperately looking for a single book on how to PA. So back in the day, it was just like, figure it out. And between working with Flowbell and between working with Dan Schneider and his network of contacts. On top of that all, just working gigs, working day in, day out, you make friends. When you're working 12, 13 hours a day in one place, sometimes for 5 weeks, you really get to know people. Sometimes it happens day one, sometimes it happens day 14.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And you're just grinding like day in and day out with those people. Like, of course, you probably have like a small family by the end of it. That's awesome.
Of
So
course.
you are currently New York based. Have you always been New York based? Do you have like another background? Do you have a different, like, did you get an education from somewhere else?
Sure. Yeah, I can definitely speak to my history. I'm a New Yorker, born and raised. I grew up just outside the Bronx in a small town called Pelham. Shout out to my Pelicans. Um, Such a good time growing up in Pelham. But, you know, small towns come with their limited access to, I don't know, new and different ideas. So growing up in Pelham was a fantastic foundation. And I knew that as soon as I was going to college, as soon as I was looking and going down that avenue, I really wanted to go somewhere new. And it's funny, you could look at my history, middle school onward, and it'd be like, oh, obviously he became a film producer. But I didn't have that idea until after I graduated college. While I was making movies with my friends in high school, editing them together, it was never something I saw as what I wanted to do. And that started to spark when I left for school. So I went to a place called University of Richmond in Virginia, and I applied to a number of colleges and visited about half of those application locations and found myself just in love with the University of Richmond. And I was like, I have to go here. So I went to University of Richmond in Virginia, attended it for 4 years, and I studied rhetoric and public communications. And everyone always asks me, what does that mean? It's a great question. It was something we're learning ourselves while studying it. And what it really is analyzing public address and learning what succeeds, how a good orator succeeds at identifying with their audience using, classic techniques like ethos, pathos, and logos. I'll never forget. Appealing to people's sense of emotion, appealing to people's sense of logic is how you can most efficiently communicate with people. And I studied this in school because I always knew that I was a decent orator. I always knew that I could communicate, but I never knew how to channel it and what to do with it. So I studied that in school and then did like everyone else with a bachelor's degree and got a job completely unrelated. So I was working in software for a while. And I found myself kind of bored. I was like, I know I'm meant for more than this. I'm just kind of doing a job day in, day out. And I just quit. I was like, I know this isn't it. My family wasn't really happy with that move. But like not 3 weeks after quitting, a good friend of mine, Alex Benepi, I'll never forget this phone call. Shout out to the Richmond Spiders Quidditch team. Alex Benepi was the commissioner of international Quidditch. We don't need to go down that avenue, but it is something I enjoyed all 4 years of college.
Oh, respect, yeah.
So that friend of mine, Alex, calls me and he's like, hey, I hear you're out of work. I have a friend who's the second AD on a movie, TMNT2. Do you want a PA on that? And I was like, well, I don't know anything about all those letters, but if you're offering me a job, I'm saying yes. So this is hilarious. My first time on any film set, I'm going to Silver Cup Studios, working on the live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was introduced to Megan Fox. I was introduced to Sheamus, the wrestler. And I was just like, is this what filmmaking is? I want to do this every day. Yeah. No, it's not. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, is a $175 million movie. And after working on that, my parents were gracious enough to say, like, hey, you want some real experience in this? Let's look for, like a school opportunity here, but not something too long. So I went to New York Film Academy, affectionately known as NYFA. And New York Film Academy has single-month producing courses. So I just got a 4-week crash course in how to produce. And by the end of that crash course, I was PAing on all of my co-students' thesis films. And after PAing on all those thesis films from the 1-month course, I met people that were at New York Film Academy for the 2-year course. And I PA'd on all of their thesis films. And then I found out it's at SVA, the School of Visual Arts, they do the exact same thing about a month later. So by PAing on 1 million student films, I found my foundation and I found my people, and it just exploded from there.
Oh, that's incredible. And kind of like going off the cuff here a little bit, but how did you said you just quit. You quit and 3 weeks later your friend called. How did you kind of get out of that mental block, that mental headspace that you felt like you were starting over? Or did you potentially feel like after you quit your job, you were like, this could be like a little end of the world-ish? Like, you understand why some people might have that like mentality, you know? It's like,
Of course. Having steady employment is the thing that's kind of banged into your head from the time you're in middle school. This is the most important thing. Go out into the world, find out what you want to do, and find a job. So when you have a job and you're like, I'm going to quit with no plan, there's definitely a little sense of existential dread. This could be the end. This could be a terrible decision. I personally am a very live in the moment kind of person. And when I came to the decision to leave my software role, I kind of had a feeling it was going to be the best decision I ever made. But that's not a reason to bank everything. So while in the process, giving them my 2 weeks notice and all of that, I did start to hit the ground and see if there was some kind of other job in the arts I could take. And a couple of people recommended that anyone can PA. So I did have a sense of what a production assistant was and what they could do. But again, I wasn't exactly looking for that. I just knew that while engaged in my full-time position, I wouldn't have the true freedom and liberty and impetus to find a job. When the rent clock is ticking, there's no better motivation to find a position. So while, it's obviously very difficult to advise people to quit their jobs, I would advise anyone to have something lined up. But I knew that personally for me, I was very zeroed in on what I needed to do and what people needed from me. So working in that role was holding me back.
Yeah, absolutely. So now that you are like pretty like you've put your foot in the door for the industry, what are some projects that you remember most fondly or that you are most proud of?
So in the beginning, at the beginning of this interview, we talked about some of the grander things I've done. Working on that road trip for Kia was obviously monumental for me. It was a major change. It was my first travel job in years, let alone right in the middle of, the big C word, the big P word. But the projects I remember most fondly are the ones where it feels a little more like a rickety pirate ship, and allow me to describe. When you're working on a short film, when you're working on a low-budget music video, you don't have any resources. When you're working for larger production companies, you can use money to solve some of your problems. When money is not an option to solve your problems, you have to get very creative. There's something we say in the industry, and we probably say it in other industries too, where you want everything good, cheap, and fast, but you can only have 2 of those things at once. So it's either good and cheap or, high quality, good stuff, but it takes really long. In the film industry, you don't have any time. So you strive for good, cheap, and fast. Jobs that I remember most fondly, I will talk about 2. The first of which is that This Is Me, Me Too movement role. This Is Now. Music video called This Is Now is something I produced. It was one of the first things I ever produced. Roughly 6 or 7 years ago at this point. I believe we launched it officially in 2015, but filmed it over the course of a couple of random weekends, over the course of a couple of random months, all throughout 2014. And it was on the good graces of filmmakers bringing in gear, actors donating their time, locations really coming to us, and then a couple of crowdfunding efforts. All that came together to create a really impactful music video that kind of, to me, felt the culmination of a number of movements that were happening all at once. So what This Is Me means is This Is Me was a song from The Greatest Showman. And the song's purpose, the song's MO, was talking about how people might look different, feel different, be different, and we all need to get out there in the world and express who we really are. It's very easy to enter society and kind of shield people from the truth of who you are, because that's a very scary thing to do. So the purpose of the song was really married to the Me Too movement in something we called This Is Now. I very much appreciated my time working with Molly Evans, the creator of that concept, and it was just an incredible time. The second project that I remember so fondly was a short film called Sugar and Sand. Sugar and Sand is a short film. It's not 7 minutes long, and it's about, here we are, Instagram addiction. It's a very real story for people. You know, you're on Instagram, you see the highlights. You see everyone's best. You see what they look like at their peak. And what we all need to realize is that people have valleys between those peaks. And we need to understand that when we present the best of what we got, everyone is going through very human struggles every single day. So this movie very humorously tries to tackle this concept of Instagram addiction, social media addiction, and puts it into a narrative field where we have two people, a boyfriend and a girlfriend. They're going on vacation together. And the boyfriend allows the girlfriend one photo. Let's live in the moment while we're away on this weekend and take just one photo for social media, and otherwise wash our hands of it. Of course, this turns into the entire weekend is about preparing for the one photo, completely missing the purpose. This movie will be released online very soon. In fact, we're talking to distributors right now, and that's why it hasn't been released online already, which is extremely exciting for me and the writer-creator, Laura Winters. This distribution deal, this pending deal, comes off the heels of the Catra Film Series. The Catra Film Series is a film festival that I have a decently storied relationship with. I've had multiple short films premiere at this festival, and I love them to bits. Back in October, Sugar and Sand was featured among some really high-quality talent at the AMC in Times Square. There's nothing more impressive and awe-inspiring than seeing something you created in a real movie theater. Yeah. Like, I saw Eternals a couple months later in that theater, and my movie was there. Yeah. So we're there, we're in a block of multiple projects, and you know, some of them are 40 minutes long, some of them are 20 minutes long, and then here comes Sugar and Sand, 6 minutes long. We watch it. I'm sitting next to Laura, and I'm like, is anyone going to remember that that even happened? We were all handed a little piece of paper to tear our favorite project and submit into a little ballot. Laura and I, of course, and a couple of the friends that we brought, tore off Sugar and Sand and crossed our fingers. Not an hour later, we find out that we won the Audience Appreciation Award. It got the most votes of anything in that viewing block. Here it is.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
So I keep this on my desk to remind myself that, don't tell anyone this, of course we're live, that making $700 once 5 years ago, making a short film, can yield such crazy results. We're still talking about it. We have an award. This is nuts. It actually happens. So those two projects, perhaps I was a little long-winded. Those two projects I remember most dearly because they really came to a head over the course of a couple of years of working.
Yeah. Oh my God. And it's totally like a ripple effect where like you're still talking about it now. It's still like continuing to be distributed. So the first project that you spoke about, the music video, is that currently out and on YouTube? Is that like where can people find that?
Of course. That can be found on YouTube by literally searching hashtag this is now.
Hmm.
Um, and it should be one of the earliest results. Otherwise, I can post a link to everyone who viewed here today to go and check it out. This is now amassed over 180,000 views on Facebook when we released it.
Yeah.
A lot of that is thanks to the incredible network and efforts of Molly Evans, who I mentioned earlier, who
Hmm.
really put it together and really put it out there.
Hmm.
But of course, everyone who was involved shared it, and I believe half of those views were realized the first day. So that was an incredible thing for us, for This Is Now. And of course, Sugar and Stand is still pending. Of course, the moment I can release it to people, I will. It is ready. It's on my hard drive. It's on my desk. I'm ready to do it. Um, the most important thing about producing people's stories is telling them. Nobody wants to make a movie and keep it on a drive for 5 years. We want people to see it, and that's truly the purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. So what are you currently working on right now?
Of course. So at any given moment, I'm in all stages of production.
Mhm.
Um, I am in the process of trying to sell a feature film, and I'm under NDA, so I can't talk about it too much. But
Mhm.
that's marketing and distribution. I'm currently trying to do that. I'm in post production for two short films. Um, and this is the first time I'm speaking about them publicly, but we'll do them here. One is Best Buddies, written by McKeg Collins. And that is a comedy, drama, short film. It's about 15 minutes long, and it's going to be both funny and it's going to hit the nail on the head on some melancholy feelings that people in 2021 might be feeling. Best Buddies is currently undergoing lighting with a colorist, so we're working on patching that color up before submitting it to festivals. The second of those projects is a project by Tori Smith and Sarah Walsh, Jane Wick. Jane Wick, I'm extremely excited to celebrate because this is the first time I've ever been approached with a parody. Now, I don't normally like working on parodies in reality because it's not exactly what I got into the industry to do. But as soon as I saw this script, I was like, you perfectly took Keanu's John Wick and transformed it into Victorian era, all women sword fighting.
Wow.
Now, this short film is more of a proof of concept. It's a single scene from the movie, kind of mirrored. But we had an excellent location, stunt coordination, and I can confidently say people will be seeing that parody by the end of this year.
Oh, that's awesome. That sounds so badass. I'm so excited to see that. So
Yes, some early photos of it are available on my Instagram, but of course, more in the wings.
absolutely. So what does your day-to-day look like?
That's a great question because it literally doesn't have an answer.
Mhm.
While I was working for that software company back in the day, I knew that I had no interest in routine. The thing that was killing me was going to the same place and doing the same thing every single day.
Mhm.
So working in film, I find that my days are extremely varied. I, not a month ago, was working with a fun production company called Luminous Studios. I know the founder extremely well, Sanya Jankar. She created this studio from the ground up. I met her while she was production managing and I was PAing, and I just watched her grow with me. It was incredible to see that happen. Now she owns a production company that's regularly making commercials. I worked and collaborated with them to shoot an H&M commercial very recently at their main headquarters in Secaucus. So that was extremely fun. Um, so to answer your question more directly,
Mhm.
any given day, my week right now, my week right now is I'm working from home tomorrow, producing a couple more commercials, helping RDM, that company that took me on the Kia trip, helping them produce a couple of upcoming commercials. Where are those commercials going to be? Friday, I'm going to be at a photo shoot in New York City. Monday, I'm going to be in Winter Haven, Florida, shooting some commercials. Following that, we're going to be in Portland, Oregon, shooting another commercial in the coming weeks. And I can't talk about exactly what those are going to be about, but I can tell you that they're all extremely exciting, and I'm going to be getting on a lot of planes. In the past 7 months, I've been on 7 flights, and most of those were for film work. So I'm extremely blessed to be traveling again safely, and extremely blessed to be working on so many incredible different projects.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that's incredible. And speaking of, we do have a film collective at Flowbell that you're kind of taking over. I know it's still kind of in the works right now. Can you tell us a little bit about what the film collective is, what your ideas might be for it, and kind of like how you plan on seeing, or how you see that panning out?
Of course. So Flowbell has such an incredibly large network of filmmakers, and they come from 2 very different camps. Seasoned workers in the industry and people fresh out of college extremely interested. I find myself kind of bridging that gap where I've established myself in the industry, but I haven't been in the industry, for 25 years. So I feel within Flowbell that I exist as at least one of many liaisons, helping those younger folks, pointing them in the right direction and saying, go this way and then do it yourself. What we're trying to do here at Flowbell is really channel that network into what we're calling the Film Collective. At the moment, we're planning on meeting quarterly to talk about how can we, as a unit, execute projects, help each other out with each other's projects, and how exactly that's going to take shape is, always changing, adapting in the coming weeks. But you'll find more information on Flowbell's page here. And you'll be hearing about it from me because I'm going to be running it. So I'm extremely excited to have a more concrete position within Flowbell, and I cannot wait to be sharing that with everyone involved.
Yeah, and that's going to be incredible. I definitely think it's going to be a great way for people to network. Anybody can join Flowbell in the first place. So it'll be a great way to totally bring people together, especially people who are focusing on film and production. So, okay.
Something I want to say to those younger advisors of the Flowbell industry is that it is not all glitz and glam in the film industry. In fact, the majority of it isn't. You have to be very much in love with this and know that this is exactly what you want to do before diving headlong. Because that beating drum is what's going to carry you through work droughts, long work days. So I just want to say, not every set is Ninja Turtles. In fact, I haven't worked on a set like that since. But a lot of the sets are 14-hour days, grilled chicken and rice, and you're probably shooting some kind of reality show that you don't actually care about. But every single gig you hop onto, you have to care about them 100%. You have to be inquisitive. You have to go to those department heads. When the AD, the assistant director, says, hey, go pick up those boxes of props and move them off set. Don't just pick up the box and move them off set. Bring them to the production designer and ask what they are. Bring those stands to the gaffer and ask how else you can help. You have to be inquisitive and you have to be hungry. It's the only way you're going to learn anything, because even if you go to film school, they teach you a lot about film production, film theory, and how the Hollywood industry is going. But not much is going to prepare you for driving a truck to Kansas from New York, because that precious film gear couldn't be rented anywhere else.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. 100%. Well, do you have anything else that you maybe want to say to any other Flowbell advisors or people who are in a similar career path other than what you just stated, even though you stated everything so eloquently?
Of course. I am extremely pleased with the turnout tonight. It's clear that people really want to see people's origin stories in the height of superhero filmmaking. How people got started is extremely exciting, and people are very curious about that. So, to those young advisors out there, create that origin story and don't step back. You know, no two people in this industry have the same story as to how they got started. I was extremely fortunate to have the opportunity to go to New York Film Academy for 4 weeks, because that was the launch pad with which I was getting in cargo vans and driving gear around for genuinely 22 different thesis films. And that was all in the span of like 8 months. And I wasn't just PAing on those shoots, I was driving the truck and also hunting for locations because I was qualified to do that. So, you know, say yes to everything, tell everyone you can do everything, Google it later, and just keep digging. Just keep trying. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out. If there are any questions we can address in the chat, I'm happy to do that. Any questions further from you, Leanna, happy to address it. Thank you so much for your time, everyone.
Yeah, anybody have any last questions before we wrap this up? Give it a couple of minutes. Build the plane while flying.
That's the only way to live.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time, everyone. I think that's all we have. It was great to represent Flowbell, and good luck to all those freelance filmmakers or just anyone trying to break into a new industry. You know, there's a bit of a job shortage right now, so people are looking for hungry, driven individuals, and that can be you.
Oh, I think we do have one question from Mariana. What was the hardest on-set moment for you to overcome?
Oh boy. If I didn't have 7 answers to that question, I would be lying to you. But I do have a funny story I could share. Sure. I was production managing on a particularly turbulent feature film where no one was really happy with anything. So the mood was a little sour. And it's a bit of the job of production to uplift spirits, but sometimes you're at the end of your bandwidth. I'm on the phone with my producer, finally talking about tomorrow because the fires of today were assuaged, put out, and everything was fine. So I'm on the phone with the producer saying, hey, let's think about tomorrow. Where do we want to be? We're getting ready to pull out of the location. In fact, one of our first trucks is pulling away right now. The producer is like, oh, great, I'm so happy to hear that. As he's saying that, that truck that was pulling away clipped the end of the other truck parked right in front of it. And much like a can opener, the side of the truck continued to peel and peel and peel away. The loud, creaky, crazy noise somehow didn't stop our driver from just driving forward. Yeah. So I'm on the phone with our producer, slack-jawed, and I'm watching this truck get destroyed. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. We have insurance for these kind of things. The deductible is going to be high, but it's not like we have to replace the whole thing. Be careful when you get insurance policies. It turns out the cabin of the truck and the box of the truck have 2 very different insurance policies.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So we're there on set, and, you know, the gear is now exposed to the elements. It was the end of a wrap day. So, you know, what the hell are we going to do? So we got very creative. We peeled away the metal and made it safe. We adhesed a couple of, I kid you not, blue tarps to the side of the truck. Very creative with ratchet straps and bungee cords. Pardon my language, there's something in the industry we call shitty rigs. And this would have qualified. We get it on there, we get it to the parking lot, we deal with the insurance company the next day, and we were able to cut a deal. They felt pretty bad for us.
Yeah. It was a pity deal. Oh, yeah. Well, that sounds awesome. Well, not the accident, but everything else that you've spoken to tonight, Nick. Thank you so, so much for coming on live with us at Flowbell. I'm so excited to see what's to come. I will keep an eye out for Jane Wick. That sounds so exciting. And all right, I think we're wrapping this up. Thank you guys so much for everyone who came out. Have a good
Goodbye,
night.
everyone.